Introduction. Emotional intelligence is the ability of a person to receive and manage his or her own emotions. Emotional intelligence is also applicable where a person can not only recognize his or her emotions, but also the emotions of the other person. Emotional intelligence is divided into many parts, but we will begin with two main areas. The one is where you recognize your and someone else's emotion, and the other is where you manage your and someone else's emotion. There have been many instances where EI has been praised, and there are other times when EI has received huge criticism. The criticism is regarding whether EI has taken the place of IQ, and there are other firms that are giving more priority to EI over IQ based on their way of measurement. Do you have what it takes to grasp your emotions? Did you realize that your daily emotional experience shapes the choices you're making and the moves you are taking? It has been said now that it's not what happens to us, but more how we respond to what occurs that determines the consequences to your life. And how you respond is immediately inspired by how you choose to interpret the occasions and instances of your life. This likewise stems from your potential to efficiently manage your feelings in ways with the intention to permit them to serve and assist you in acquiring your preferred outcomes. Within this precis, I would like to provide you with all the important know-how you need that will help you manage and interpret your emotions with greater efficiency for the duration of the day. We will first take a look at one-of-a-kind forms known as limiting feelings that we experience on a daily basis and try to see them from a brand new, precise, and useful angle. We may also develop a system you could use to help you rework your emotional kingdom, presenting you with the leverage you need to successfully control your emotional kingdom each day through methods that help serve your functions and objectives. Breaking down the 10 emotional types. Within this primary section, people spend time reading 10 everyday feelings that a lot of us tend to experience at some point in our lives. It's crucial to note that these emotional interpretations have been tailored from the teachings of Anthony Robbins. Before leaping into an explanation of each of these feelings, it is important to remember the fact that these emotional responses are a signal to your aware brain that something isn't always running, and consequently, something needs to change. They are in essence a call to action, directing you to do something particular to alleviate your soreness or pain. Finally, all of the feelings we are going to be discussing are an end result of caught states that we convey upon ourselves in the course of the day. These caught states are patterned responses to occasions, and people that have their personal physiological responses, phrases, terms, and others. They are in essence consolation, looking for mechanisms that we use every time things don't go our way or as we have expected. Let's now break down each of those 10 emotional states. Discomfort. Discomfort is an emotion that frequently ends in boredom, distress, impatience, or embarrassment. You are experiencing discomfort due to the fact that you're decoding a scenario or a fixed set of circumstances in a select way that clearly leads you to a sensation of pain. It's certainly inside this interpretation that discomfort grows. Therefore, the instant you rework or change your interpretation of the situation, that is the moment you gain the advantage over your emotional experience. If you ever experience the emotion of pain, it's important to first determine why, and second, how precisely you are decoding your sense of reality. If what you are doing isn't always getting you the result which you are after, then try taking a different approach. If, however, you are not able to tackle the scenario from one-of-a-kind angle, then attempt to change your attitude towards the situation. Either way, You need to be capable of discovering a solution to help you pull yourself out of this uncomfortable emotional state. If, for example, you're bored, then attempt to do something different with your time. Or you can try to reinterpret your experience by turning things into a game. Either approach will work well as long as you are willing to be flexible in your method. Fear. Fear is usually a very debilitating emotion that ends in tension and indecision. You are experiencing fear because you are evaluating a situation or a set of occasions in a select manner that eventually leads you to the sensation of fear. This feeling of worry frequently results from an emotional response that might rise in the future if you make a certain choice or take a specific action. This is all fine if something is based totally on hard proof that is designed to shield you from damage. However, usually our fears are riddled with inaccuracies that confuse and misinform us. Therefore, the first step you ought to take to start the technique of disposing worry is to separate the real from the imagined. Fear is a valuable emotion as it protects us from harm. Envision ancient man whose fear keeps him from approaching a saber-toothed tiger. However, most of the time in this contemporary day and age, it is determined as it keeps us from accomplishing our dreams and goals. There are two things you should do to help you manipulate your fears successfully. The first is to define what it is you really need. The second is to plan well for the route you'll take to achieve your preferred results. These two steps are critical due to the fact that the large majority of our fears are based on little expertise as well as a lack of practice. If you efficiently check each of these boxes, then you will have the wherewithal you need to conquer pretty much any fear that you could likely experience in our current age. Hurt. The emotion of hurt tends to leave us feeling powerless and regularly results in a sense of loss and jealousy. You are experiencing harm because you perceive a situation in a certain way which naturally leads you to a feeling of harm. Likewise, feeling harm may be a result of not communicating your needs efficaciously to others. In such a case, begin by communicating what you want from your relationship in a clean and non-threatening way. If speaking your wishes to others doesn't work, then take into consideration your expectations. Maybe your expectations are unattainable, or maybe they have changed over time. It is possible, or that your present-day goals are unrealistic and consequently may need to be re-evaluated. Finally, feelings of hurt once in a while results from a lack of knowledge about our relationship or situations. In such instances, it helps if you replace your hurt feelings with fascination and curiosity. By becoming curious, you immediately begin asking better questions which expand the way you think and ends in solutions and opportunities that would not have been apparent earlier. Understanding difficult emotions. Anger. Anger is inclined to spin out of control and may frequently cause resentfulness. You are experiencing anger because you're reading a state of affairs or a set of circumstances in a particular manner that naturally leads you to experience anger. However, anger can definitely serve us if we are able to recognize its underlying meaning. Before you're quick to employ the emotion of anger, it's important to understand that anger regularly arises due to the fact that one or more of our rules have been violated by others. As such, we come to be angry because we now sense a loss of control of the situation, human beings, or occasions. In such instances, we can remove the angry feeling pretty quickly by spending some time reevaluating our rules. Maybe they're not reasonable. Perhaps they're out of date, or possibly they shouldn't be implemented in those circumstances. Alternatively, anger can come about because of a wrong interpretation of situations of people's intentions. In such times, you ought to question whether or not you've misunderstood the state of affairs, or absolutely misinterpreted a person's intentions. In that case, be open to the possibilities and carefully look for alternative meanings. Only an open and flexible approach will offer you the solution you're after. Guilt. Guilt is inclined to leave us feeling really deflated and can regularly cause the emotion of remorse. You are experiencing guilt due to the fact you're deciphering a scenario or a set of occasions in a specific manner that evidently leads you to the sensation of guilt. And the longer you cling on to that guilt, the worse it has the tendency to get as it continues to fester and grow inside your head. When one is experiencing guilt, it's of the utmost importance to keep in mind that our feelings of guilt is basically our interpretation of what we did and did not do and the effect that this had on others. The second you choose to interpret the circumstances of your life in a brand new and precise manner, your guilt feelings will alter to become something that could doubtlessly inspire and empower you to take action. Realize that the impact that your actions have had on others might not be as they seem, so test yourself for feelings of guilt and reassess as needed. Finally, guilt is resolved when you are able to make peace with yourself and others. Frustration. Frustration is one of those emotions that we just love to hate because it makes us feel as though we're so near yet so far from the outcome we want. You are experiencing frustration because you're interpreting a scenario or a fixed set of circumstances in a specific manner that evidently leads you to feeling annoyed. Yet it's deep within this sense that your solutions lie. You are pissed off to the fact that you are attempting to do something, but you don't seem to be getting the desired results. It's like you are being held back from your purpose with the aid of some external force that you couldn't appear to control. Instead of trying to manage the scenario, the secret is to start looking outside the box. To start thinking of new possibilities, ideas, and variable answers that could help you resolve your problem. Sometimes all it takes is to approach it from a different angle. Finally, frustration frequently occurs from no longer getting the effects you're after. In such times, all it takes to remedy your frustration is to really change your method. Try something new and distinctive that you hadn't taken into consideration before. Curiously, dedication and a flexible technique are the keys you must be searching out. Inadequacies. Inadequacy could make you feel miserable, unworthy, and incompetent. It's an emotion that leaves you feeling like you're at the bottom of the heap with no way out. You are experiencing inadequacies because you really don't have the experience, abilities, or expertise to stay up to your high expectations. So you could either alter your expectations to approximate your true capability, or you can go out there and assess the necessary information, study hard, and improve yourself to gain the effects you choose to have on your life. You may also be experiencing inadequacy due to the fact that you're actually undermining your personal strengths and abilities. In such situations, it's important to get a second opinion. Therefore, stop now and ask a person for feedback. Ask them to give you their sincere observations. Maybe they will provide you with some surprising insights and perspectives. Finally, inadequacy can often stem from a lack of confidence. If you're saddled with low esteem, then it seems perfectly okay to feel inadequate. However, if you make an effort to build your self-worth, then you will always improve greater self-understanding and will start to feel more positive about yourself and your possibilities. Feeling overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is one of those emotions that creeps up on you over the years, and before you know it, it takes over your life and may even result in a very debilitating emotions of grief and depression. You are experiencing a crushing weight due to the fact you have too much on your plate, or you are unable to manipulate or take charge of the elements of your existence. In such instances, you feel out of control and therefore not able to respond. The way to conquer the problem is to divide your life into smaller, more manageable chunks and address them one piece at a time. It additionally requires letting go of any unnecessary obligations or commitments that are weighing you down, or truly rescheduling them in a way that will loosen up some time at the same time as allowing you more space to do what's most crucial. This process is straightforward if you realize what to do and are committed to taking the actions essential to reschedule and reprioritize your existence. Sometimes all it takes is a little lesson in productivity. Disappointment. Disappointment is the sensation of no longer getting what you need and often stems from a sense of defeat. You are experiencing sadness because you are interpreting a situation or a set of circumstances in a selected manner that naturally leads you to feeling dissatisfied. Instead of searching out answers and solutions, you are stuck in a muddy pit filled with unfulfilled goals and goals that by no means have become reality. Whenever we feel unhappiness, we wish that things could have been different. However, no matter how hard we try, we can't change the past, even though we may adjust our experience of the past in a fantastic manner. Instead of wallowing in disappointment, learn from your experiences so that you can improve yourself for the future. At other times, it's even worthwhile to look for opportunities that might now be available due to the disappointment that you felt earlier. Disappointment can frequently be a result of having unrealistically high goals which almost never could be reached. In that case, adjust your expectations by reducing them to an achievable level. This ought to thoroughly dig you out of the dreaded pit of unhappiness. Finally, disappointment is honestly a result of having an unfulfilled purpose. If that's the case, then you may want to modify your dreams on the way to make them more realistic. That way, you are much less likely to feel disillusioned. Loneliness. Loneliness can be a very debilitating emotion that can lead to unhappiness and stagnation. You are experiencing loneliness due to the fact that you are seeing your existence through a lens that separates you from every person and everything else that surrounds you. This is not a way to live life, given the fact that there are so many possibilities to connect with others on an everyday basis. The key to overcoming loneliness is to reconnect with others, to reconnect together with your surroundings, and to reconnect with a higher purpose that will help you feel more fulfilled and enthusiastic about your existence. Make yourself available and make the effort to talk to a person. Be accessible and make an effort to listen to someone. Go out there and make contributions to your community. Get out and spend time inside the environment. Offer to play with a toddler or pet. Volunteer to assist a person in need. Your help may be all they want to help them feel a bit less lonely. Finally, loneliness grows in the heart because we tend to forget all about the things that we're thankful for. It's this gratitude that will help you restore this balance you're sorely missing. And it's gratitude that will inspire you to open your heart up to others. Chapter 1. Handling Different Emotions. How to Transform Your Emotional State. It's all well and good to comprehend what feelings surely mean. However, whilst you're caught up in the moment, our first reaction is usually an emotional one that has a way of working against us instead of for us. In such times, you want to come to be aware about the emotional state transformation technique, which we discuss as follows. This discussion is divided into 5 components. Initially, it's going to serve you nicely to consciously circulate through each of those levels, step by step. But as this method eventually becomes ingrained in your psyche, you'll no longer want to consciously think about the stairs as separate entities. Rather, use it as a substitute which could be capable of responding to every emotion in an ordinary manner that calls for little or no thought or conscious attempt. Let's now examine the method step by step. Number 1. Identify the emotion. Your first step inside this emotional transformation method is to perceive the emotion you're experiencing. This is essential due to the fact that you aren't positive what type of emotion you're experiencing, then you may not know how to proceed. To help with this step, ask yourself the following questions. Am I feeling proper now? Am I feeling this, or is there something greater? The greater readability you have got here, the more you have to work with as you pass through this system. Number 2. Appreciate your emotion. It's important at this level that no matter what emotion you're experiencing, that you do not fight it. Resistance will breed uncertainty and could prevent you from turning this emotion into something you may use as you move forward. It is consequently essential that you openly acknowledge the emotion which you are experiencing and look for its personal meaning and significance in the scenario that you find yourself in. For instance, if something has all of a sudden caused me to be irritated, as opposed to fighting and trying to withstand this anger, I truly acknowledge to myself that I am feeling indignant and that these particular instances have brought about my anger. Only after you are able to appreciate emotion overtly will you be equipped to continue ahead to step 3. Number 3. Analyze your emotion. Employ your curious side. Curiosity will open doorways to new views and opportunities that permit you to gain unique insights into your emotion and into the situation in which you find yourself. To help you learn to analyze more efficiently, ask yourself the subsequent set of questions. What does this emotion provide me? What is the actual value of this emotion? In what specific ways does this emotion serve me? What do I have to do to help things improve? What should I accept as true to get the final results I need? What is my simplest choice and emotion? How can I learn from this to assist me to do better in the future? Remember that regardless of what emotion you're experiencing, it's a long process to learn to convert that emotion into a positive life experience. You need to consequently be open to finding the important solutions that will help you benefit from the insights required to conquer this emotional roadblock you're working through. Number 4. Get confident that you can handle emotion. Within this degree, go through the very first branch of this IQ matrix where we discuss the facts and methods of each of the 10 important emotional states and determine the steps you may take to help you take charge of your emotional experience. This is the time to gain a new fact and to consciously pick out the emotional reaction so you'll enjoy moving ahead. It's also the time to learn any important new information and to get help to aid you in controlling your reaction more successfully. To assist with this method, it's worthwhile recalling a time in your past wherein you treated this emotion successfully and turned it in your favor. This memory may be used as the foundation so one can help pave the way to a better future in which you're no longer dominated by this emotion, but as a substitute, you consciously pick out a response to this emotion in a useful and proactive manner. Number 5. Take action. Now that you have all the expertise, guidance, and statistics required to respond in a healthy and positive way, it's time to take a proactive approach to change your emotional state for the better. Chapter 2. Transforming Negative Emotions. How to manage your emotional state. Having labored your way through the preceding branches of the Emotional Mastery IQ Matrix, you are now much more prepared for any emotional surprises that life throws your way. However, there may, nevertheless, be instances wherein unexpected situations may want to push you into patterns and conduct that would probably create emotional turmoil and throw you off path. In such instances, you want to learn how to manage your emotional state a touch more correctly, and it is this process that we will discuss right here. Building your emotional fortress. In order to bolster your resilience in the course of hard times, it's worthwhile to spend some time constructing your emotional fortress. Your emotional fortress is a place to go to in your thoughts that maintains your strength at a point of hard or difficult circumstances. To build your emotional castle, close your eyes and imagine a unique location that most closely approximates this idea. This is your personal sanctuary that will help you find energy and guidance. This area can be a valley, a mountain, by the seaside, a special room, a residence, or some other vicinity that offers you to power through tough times. Within this emotional fort, you could talk together with your peers and mentors. These are the people who inspire and help strengthen you for the duration of the difficult times. They are there to assist and guide you through the emotional struggles you might be experiencing. Your emotional citadel additionally incorporates some of the self-improvement sources that you may use to help clear up your blockage. All of those assets and guide networks are there for you that will help you gain the upper hand every time you're going through problems. You must use your emotional castle in times of outstanding emotional trouble where you require the greater aid to assist constantly and point you in the proper direction. Therefore, rather than reacting emotionally in approaching the activities and occasions of your life, take the time to pull yourself away from those circumstances and step into your emotional castle. In there you will find the wisdom and comfort to help you reply kindly yet effectively. Psychological transformation. Your thoughts, expectations, self-talk, and perceptions all combine to create the reality you experience on a day-by-day basis. Moreover, they come collectively and have an impact on the feelings you experience at any second in time. You must consequently search your mind consciously, talk wisely to yourself, and alter your expectations and occasions in tremendous ways, making them give you the results to work in your favor. The variety of seeds you plant in your thoughts develop throughout the day. For better or worse, they will affect your perception of reality. You need to consequently select seeds on the way to promote high-quality emotional growth that will help you make the most of your day and the possibilities which are provided to you. Breath control. Whenever you're feeling emotionally beneath the weather, it's always crucial and very helpful to calm yourself by using mindful respirations. Simply breathe in for 5 counts and exhale for 5 greater counts whilst retaining your attention only on your breathing. Undertake this method for up to 5 minutes at a time, and you will soon discover a new vigor and strength that you may use to help you think more clearly and successfully deal with the situations you're being confronted with. Communicate your needs and desires. One very powerful way to keep away from emotional turmoil is to genuinely communicate your wishes and desires to others. Many times our conversations could be very bad, which results in misunderstandings and conflict. This results in emotional turmoil and mayhem. To solve this, genuinely ask others how they are feeling, why they're feeling that way, and how they would like to solve these emotions. Likewise, speak your wishes in the same way. Sometimes all it takes is an open verbal exchange and a willingness to pay attention to solve any emotional conflict that you are probably experiencing in the course of your day. Physiological transformation. We discussed above how our psychology affects how we feel at some point of the day. Well, the same is true for physiology. How you use your frame, what you do with your body, the way you roll your body, has enormous impact on the emotions you experience during the day. For instance, on every occasion you feel the emotion of anger, take a look at your frame and determine how it's responding, what it's doing, and the way it's changing as your anger escalates. Compare this anger state to a time when you were feeling calm, sociable, and relaxed. What does your body do and how does it respond in such instances? You will soon see that your body responds pretty differently to each emotional state which you come upon during the day. This consequently poses the question of whether or not changing how your body moves or positions itself can have an impact on the way you feel emotionally from second to second. And the answer to this query is a resounding yes. Anchoring. Here you're setting yourself into a peak of emotional state of the kind of emotion that you would like to revel in whilst anchoring it to a part of your body. Say, for instance, I would really like to anchor the emotion of ardor to my body. I would think of times in the past that I have felt obsessed with. I could stay via these experiences in my head till the instant I have ardor running through my veins. At this moment, at the height of the emotion, I might anchor this passionate state to a part of my body. This might mean squeezing my thumb or earlobe. Once the anchor has been set, I can trigger the emotional kingdom of ardor at any time throughout the day by squeezing my thumb or my earlobe to get me out of a bored emotional state. There's a lot more to this technique, however, it's past the scope of this article. For extra facts, please see NLP anchoring. Eye movements. Finally, it's crucial to point out that very often our emotions are truly related to the motion of our eyes. This way that after we're experiencing a sure emotion, our eyes are moving in a certain and precise manner that indicates to the brain that we're now, for example, experiencing an emotion of despair. Without wanting to enter any detail right here, right after you begin to experience an emotional state, try experimenting with this and start moving your eyes in an unpredictable way. I'm sure that you will soon see that the emotional plane that you had been experiencing has really dissipated. Final thoughts. Let's take matters full circle and remind ourselves over again that it's not what occurs that causes the problem. Instead, it's how we respond to the stresses and circumstances in our lives that makes all the difference in the long run. You are always in full control of your emotions regardless of how matters might seem. And as such, you can occasionally choose to experience another way and to take control of your emotional state. Emotions cannot be considered anyone's fault due to the fact that feelings come from the inside out and not from the outside in. If you have any personal insights or thoughts about how you have effectively or unsuccessfully controlled your emotions within the past, then feel free to list them. Time to assimilate these concepts. Did you gain insight from this newsletter? Would you want to keep these ideas fresh in your mind? If so, then you might like to download the accompanying Thoughts Map reference poster to your iPad, pill, or computer. The map gives you a quick overview of this article. It's designed specifically to assist your memory and remind you of statistics so you can better combine those concepts into your mind, habits, and movements each day. Your purchase may even go a long way towards helping to improve these maps. If you enjoy the use of the mind maps, then why not join as an IQ Matrix lifetime member, where you will get admission to an ever-developing library of hundreds of self-help thought maps that let you excel in each region of life. Find out more by clicking on the banner underneath. This quotation by Aristotle, all the way back in 350 BC, touches on the discernment wanted for emotional intelligence. Emotions are part of human nature, although for many human beings, feelings may be difficult to control. They come on suddenly and can be severe. Think of a time when your mood got you in trouble, or a time when you had been overwhelmed with stress and tension. We've all been at that place where our emotions get the best of us, and when this occurs, we frequently are paying for it via illness, injury, relation struggles, and normal terrible decision-making. Emotions aren't something we are able to get rid of, and ultimately we wouldn't need to. Productive emotional states are vital to our fulfillment. Some literature estimates that emotional intelligence is accountable for up to 85% of our fulfillment in the workplace. The trick isn't putting off emotions, but learning to harness them most productively. For instance, a slight amount of strain or tension is critical for motivating us to make changes and attain dreams. Though, if we lose our strength of will, those feelings may be disabling, overwhelming, and in the end lead us to break down. This is where emotional intelligence comes into play. Instead of feelings ruling us, they can be pretty adaptive and useful for accompanying what we choose. We can grow to be an effective communicator, deal with social relationships, inclusive of family, friends, and co-workers, and turn out to be a better leader, clear up troubles, and behave in a manner we're proud of. According to Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence is the capacity for spotting our own feelings and those of others, and for handling feelings nicely in ourselves and our relationships. For this newsletter, we're going to discover the primary additives, recognizing and identifying our own emotions and regulating these feelings to get optimum outcome. Chapter 3. How to achieve greater self-awareness. Experience your emotions by noting your physical reactions. Do you feel a pounding heart, muscular tension, or a queasy stomach? Being aware of these cues is a tremendous place to begin to become aware of feelings. Know your triggers. Start paying attention to what pushes your buttons. What human beings, places, and events generally tend to trigger distressing feelings. Keep a daily emotional journal in order to note your cues and triggers. Note when you feel certain feelings, what you were doing, who you were with, and how intensely the sensation changed. Pay close attention when you're at low stress. Then, when you're at low stress, begin paying close interest to how your feelings occur. Often, we don't note when feelings start to take over our conduct. Having a pal or accomplice point out when you're speaking negatively or as you're beginning to fall back into destructive patterns can be very useful to help gain extra self-focus. Chapter 4. How to modify your feelings. Set goals for your feelings. After you've got advanced awareness of your feelings and conduct, you can start to make adjustments in the regions causing the trouble. This is where feedback from others is crucial. It lets us work on our weaknesses and expand in areas of life where we generally tend to struggle emotionally. Use nonviolent imagery. If we're no longer careful, robust feelings can send our mind racing out of control. We start to imagine and picture all the poor effects. Instead, go to a happy place. When tensions are high, remember a scene from your past that helps you relax and calm your nerves and regain composure. You might also picture being on a peaceful mountain, floating in a clear blue ocean, or laughing with friends and family. Deep breathing. Using deep breathing is a fantastic way to calm the body and relax ourselves. When tough feelings emerge, close your eyes and picture a calming photograph. Slowly breathe in the calming feelings and breathe out the distressing emotions. Breathe in and out at least 10 times until you are relaxed, refreshed, and focused. Take a hold of your self-talk to change the way you feel, alter what you tell yourself. Most of our feelings come from internal triggers or how we interpret the scenario or occasion. Make effects to recognize internal triggers. If it's bad and scary, work to reframe your mind in a more high-quality manner. Take care of yourself. Our body health has a major impact on how we feel emotionally. Watch your hygiene and get ample sleep. To keep your feelings in balance, watch your consumption of caffeine, pills, and alcohol, and eat a properly balanced diet. Make time to clear up problems. We may not have complete control in life, but for some things we are able to do something about. The use of problem solving can eliminate a good deal of worry and stress in our existence. Consider the hassle, what answers and options you have, after which weigh the blessings and disadvantages of each choice. Put more leisure and laugh into each day. Sometimes we're so pressured or bummed out the way things are going we forget that laughter is a super medicinal drug. Finding greater amusement and getting lost in amusement can definitely help us. Find time to do things you enjoy and be less extreme. If we're honest, our emotions manipulate us more regularly than we like instead of the other way around. Emotions are a kind of power that needs to be expressed, and you may not express or change what you don't notice. Denying or ignoring feelings doesn't make them leave, nor does it lessen their impact on you and others, even if it's subconscious. It's been said there are over 3,000 phrases in the English language related to feelings. However, most of the people use less than 12 phrases to describe their emotions. Personally, I used to get indignant with some human beings more than I wanted with family, friends, and colleagues. As I commenced to apply the emotional mastery technique described here, what I realized is that I wasn't genuinely irritated with these human beings in any respect. Instead, I became annoyed. That supposed I had to alter my own expectations and way I was coming near matters, not now coping with them appropriately in their extended violations. Since then, I've learned to place a label on my feelings, and the results were terrific. And putting a name on what we're feeling in a moment is the first step to gain control of our happiness and our actions. The truth is that with a constrained emotional vocabulary and understanding, you're largely restricted to receiving sensations rather than truly experiencing your emotions. Being precise in naming your emotions has a tendency to diffuse your power and lessen the toll it may take. Psychologist Dan Siegel refers to this practice as name it to tame it. Try to say this. You need to expand your emotional vocabulary in addition to being able to observe it in the moment. But how? While there are different emotional heuristics and frameworks, I like Talent Smart, adapted by Julia West, due to the fact it is very realistic, nimble, and purposeful. I don't have to know each of the 100 special feelings indexed on the first list, simply the 5 basic ones. I then reflect on the intensity level that allows me to then be extra specific about the emotions I'm experiencing. With a little practice, It's amazing how your emotional vocabulary and agility will develop. Here is how. First, look over the list, memorize the 5 fundamental feelings, then practice. Name it. Number 1. Recognize. For the next few days, be self-aware. When you feel a robust emotion, can be superb as well, but the bad ones are where we generally have trouble, put a label on it. Which of the first 5 basic categories does it fall under? Gauge the intensity stage. That is, I don't like this. Category is anger, real emotion is frustration or agitation, and so on. Look at your patterns so you know where you're getting caught. Number 2. Identify. The activating occasion and character that stimulates that emotion, that is, that man/gal showed up late for the 3rd time this week. Acknowledge the emotion, after which I identify it. Emotions aren't precise or bad. All of them have their place, and some are nicer than others. Number 3. Clarify. The belief, motivate, or reasoning on your part that generated the emotion, that is, they're disrespectful of my time, they aren't considerate, they're prioritizing different things, and they're making excuses. Or, now I'm behind and did not get my notes finished before lunch, so now I am forced to reschedule my plans. Tame it. Number 4. Accept. Pay interest to and absolutely experience what you're feeling. What signal are you getting? Again, emotions may be first class or unsightly as well as not completely understood. However, none of them are bad. Emotions are indicators that we want to act on something. The difficult part is defining what that something is. Number 5. Challenge. Your perception, purpose, or questioning with the aid of thinking yourself, what could every other cause for this be? Am I lacking on something that I could shed light on how I should think about this? What is important that this emotion is alerting me to? And reframing to understand what circumstances might I think in another way about what brought on my emotion. How would I feel then? Number 6. Act. Decide what you want to do based totally on the clarity you now have. We can't just conjure up how we need to feel, but we can take action in our thoughts and deeds to generate the feelings and emotions we prefer. How? Determine the way you need to feel as a substitution. Be reassured by using a time you effectively handled this emotion in the past. Use your personal core values to expand your selections and keep you centered. Our thoughts waft constantly, and our emotional climate fluctuates all the time. However, our core values are constant like the North Star. It can also be slow going in the beginning, but trust me, once you practice this, it gets increasingly more automatic, and you'll quickly discover that you are in a much better place over time with lots of factors that used to set you off. Noticing and naming emotions gives you the safety to take a step back, more approximately pick out what you're experiencing, and then make a choice of what to do about it. It also serves as an emergency of sorts when the occasion issues arise that prior to this exercise could have ended up with you in a rubber room. How are you doing with your feelings? Is what you're doing with them serving your favorite hobbies as well as other people? A positive mindset usually seeks to improve, so think about what you need to do with this. And if you already have a particular tool or manner that you've observed works nicely for you, please send off a comment and share the wealth. If you live a life in which you're ruled by your emotions, then you will never have any kind of normal life. Your relationships may be chaotic, your circle of pals is probably full of similar people, and your future dreams are always in a fog. Today, I bring you 8 ways to help you get on with mastering these emotions. These skills are what separate the successful from everybody else. Spend the time on working on being in control of your feelings, and also you'll obtain the advantages. Number 1. Emotions are what drive us. As I said above, it's our feelings that make us human. The more emotional someone is, the more exciting but chaotic their life is. I don't want you to question whether you want to suppress your emotions. This just wouldn't be human. After all, it's our emotions that empower us and inspire us. The key here is which way you're going. Which path are you going to take? Are you going to head towards making a good choice or an incorrect one? This is where control turns into a huge issue. The more often you're able to receive the chaos and move on again, the more likely you'll be able to keep doing so in the future. Don't be that person that reacts negatively, creating a terrible preference and jogging into the ground. Number 2, don't let others control your emotional state. This rule applies to absolutely everyone that has the pesky, terrible buddies and circle of relatives that constantly tend to drag you down. The reason why this rule plays a crucial position in our life is because words do matter and can be like a pointy knife slowly digging into our pores and skin. Now it's really easy for people to tell you to not pay attention to your critics. I don't virtually advocate this because the most effective time that negative comments influence you is when it's from the ones you care about. If you're dating a person who constantly brings you down, then it makes perfect sense that the words hurt you. This rule is a difficult one to grasp, probably the hardest of them all. What I normally teach people is to stop and think about the larger picture here. Why are they wasting their time to drag you down? The most probable solution is that these human beings have nothing better to do. They aren't happy with their own lives, they get transient joy out of causing human misery, and so forth. I advocate that when you attend to the bigger picture, it's much less complicated to ignore the dislike coming your way. If you're dating someone with abandonment problems, as an example, those hateful words are from a far deeper internal worry that's genuinely being projected onto you. Number 3, do your own thing and own it. When I have hate coming my way, I'm excellent at figuring out who it's coming from and if it's credible or not. If I'm getting hate from a person that's no longer near my level, then it's not going to have an effect on me at all. If I'm getting hate from someone on my level or above, then I will take a more in-depth look at it. Why? Because frequently instances while someone's that truly on your level or higher than you, the grievance may be used to make changes for your personal life. I see it as an opportunity for me to grow. Someone that says things out of hate and jealousy isn't going to be above me. Best humans usually aren't saying things like this. So this allows me to recognize when I'm getting quite a bit of hate for doing what I love, then it ought to imply I'm doing the proper component. I personalize it. If I'm getting complaint from those above me, then I use that complaint to make changes and notice where I can improve. It's a win-win. This is why, for relationships, I usually try to find a person that's operating similarly to me, moving ahead, loves developing, and so on. Because any complaint I get from this man or woman is going to be a grievance I don't take lightly. It can assist me to enhance myself and develop. This is why relationships are truly about teamwork. Number 4, learn to say no. Nearly anyone with codependency signs and symptoms has loads of trouble speaking up, pronouncing no, and sticking with it. You are probably in a position to say no a few times. However, after a little persuading, you cave in. Salesmen love handling humans like this because they recognize that they could get you to buy what they offer at retail price. Relationships also suffer heavily for codependence because you end up a pushover. You're dominated in an emotional kingdom in which your needs are in no way fulfilled. You assume you are being a loving companion, but you're honestly losing the connection further because you aren't being honest with yourself and your associate. I used to work for a successful business owner, and one of the best classes he taught me early on was to learn to say no to people. It didn't count who. He informed me to tell my buddies no, my family no, my girlfriends no, till I broke free of this preference to please. It turned into a remarkable lesson from an entrepreneur because he knew that even for enterprise, mastering to say no is one of the most effective negotiating skills. Number 5, don't try to fit in. Be inspired, but not dependent. We actually live in a thrilling society today. As I mentioned over and over in my detox book, we're inside the statistics age. What this indicates is that everyone has access to masses of information. We can observe celebrities, fashion icons, experts, masters, and so on, and peer into their lives. There's not anything incorrect with this, and actually, I inspire you to find human beings that encourage you and push you to develop and evolve. The trouble is, whilst you start to rely on humans to push you ahead, a lot of people make the mistake to date due to the fact that they're lonely, they're stuck, they want exhilaration, suggestion, motivation, etc. This is a problem because in preference to being impartial and growing on you personally, you begin to lose yourself as a unique individual. As much as a few guys think that their activity is keep or fix ladies, the fact is her dependence on you may wear you down. This emotional state will motivate your thoughts to fixate on your companion and eye-catching them. Your relationship is doomed at that time. Number 6, have a good people filter. Socially, you don't want to be seen as to allow all humans into your existence. Having a good filtering machine will come through experience. The more you're around people, the more you'll recognize who and who not to let near. Being independent is wholesome on your emotions. I just need you to remember that. There's nothing incorrect for being unmarried or moving yourself ahead. The issue to watch out for the duration of this single time is whilst your emotional state falls into a bored and lonely lure. This will manifest itself as positive instances because going to bed by yourself can be very lonely after a while. This is why women have shut-eye parties with all their single friends. Quality ladies realize that it is tons higher to get together with their pals and sleep over than to call up an ex or a random guy out of loneliness. Being able to filter out certain human beings from your lifestyle is a splendid skill to have. When you get these emotions of loneliness, use this as an opportunity to think of yourself, whether it's an interest, a task, making ready for an event, writing a weblog, whatever. Use this time to be effective. Don't use it to swipe through Tinder and observe porn or browse for escorts. Hoes make their cash off the bored and lonely. Number 7, forgive and drop grudges. Next rule is the all-important rule of forgiveness. I can't stress how crucial this system of forgiving is for moving ahead and living a happy, pleasing life. Holding on to the past and never clearly letting out these deep feelings will only deliver you further harm down the road. These emotions will burrow themselves deep within you and fester for years and years and cause chaos. By protecting a grudge, you surrender energy over your feelings. There will come a time when something will happen that could cause a few outbursts or responses that you'll really regret. Don't allow this to become an aspect. Take care of your future now by forgiving and letting matters move on. It's not a clean method and something you can remind yourself to do for a while until you're free of it. Number 8, stop seeking attention. I bet it's terrific to have thousands and hundreds of Instagram followers, but here's the thing. If all your pics are being pretty damn picky and attracting thirsty men by way of the thousands, then this isn't doing you a lot of good. At a quiet of the day, you'll probably just turn out to be with a few men who see you as a piece of meat in place of what's past all the glitz and glamour. And if you're fine with that, then this rule is received as practice. The fact I'm making here is that if you are going to look for attention, it should be an approaching that honestly gathers the eye of like-minded individuals, people that encourage you, motivate you, and push you ahead. This is a commonplace topic you're noticing. When you're needy, humans don't recognize you. It doesn't clearly show you what you're needy about. People in the end respect those folks who are independent, have a will to succeed, encouraged to win, and so on. Remember, what you entice is what you get. If you're the needy type, you're going to turn out to be with a partner that's needy too. And believe me, this gets old very fast. Closing thoughts. Phew, that got pretty long. I hope you enjoyed it and that I've given you something to think about going ahead. To close out this newsletter, I would like to say that you have the power of choice. Remember this, as important as emotions are for us, the potential to make decisions and choose is the alternative gift given to us humans. What you do with that preference is absolutely up to you. To be truly a hit with ladies, one should come to master his very own emotions, to override deep emotions and instincts when he is aware of the emotions and instincts that are going to take him to the incorrect route. Emotions are a snap, subconscious selection-making method designed to be powerful to hold essential functions even in the face of logical selections to the opposite. In these global days, for instance, it's easy to get stuck in life and think you don't have any time for children and be afflicted with offspring. But the reason you exist is that your ancestors, every single one of them, successfully passed on their genes, and that makes you who you are. In addition, they passed on the things that made them successful at survival and duplicate. A number of those matters being deep feelings and overrode logical thoughts like, oh, I don't have time for youngsters. The desire to move condomless in sex is one. Spend sufficient time with a lady and you don't want to be protected. That's simply one of the ways of preserving the natural order of factors to get you procreating. But a number of matters that worked in the past don't do as well now. In the past, if a man surely preferred a woman, fixating on her and obsessing over her and devoting lots of time and strength into getting her would take time. In the past, beating oneself over a botched attempt with a lady one likes would have the person returning and figuring out a manner to get her. Most importantly, there's a very good reason why those tendencies are built into our genes. In the past, while people were some distance away, much less cellular, and populations much less dense, the amount of really top pleasant women became seriously constrained. The top women worth having are all well worth taking a very small hazard. Tying oneself up in knots over might result in fulfillment with her. But that motive no longer applies. I watch my buddies obsess over these mediocre girls they know from social circle and chase after like crazy because they've gotten to know them and form some emotional attachment to them and now feel they have to have them. These same mediocre ladies their pals chasing after and who ignore those guys in their social circles and leave and hook up with random men they've met at parties and nightclubs, and at the same time they want a long-term relationship with my buddies and their friends. We don't live in a world with few feasible mating alternatives in which the odds of getting a girl by means of chasing her, obsessing over her, is really worth the work. Instead, we stay in a world stuffed with humans, with heaps of lovely, intelligent, successful, kick-ass ladies available. The antique evolutionary vestige of being hung up on one female who's playing difficult to get, or simply no longer that involved, is dusty and inefficient. It's showing its age. Who's more likely to end up with a fabulous, excessive, excellent lady? The guy who finds the one girl who goes crazy with emotion and obsesses over her all day long, or the guy who meets a lot of girls, progressing forward with those he can flow with, and slicing his losses and moving on from those that aren't going anywhere? The solution's obvious. The man meeting more girls and focusing his efforts on those most conscious of him goes to be the greater hit man, and, I guarantee you, quite possibly the happier, and some instances less harried, guy as well. Chapter 5. The Means of Mastery. Guys shouldn't waste their time fixating, ad infinitum, on one woman, and that doing so is poison for true happiness and success with women. How do you overrule this admitted effective emotional pressure, fashioned, molded, and honed, no doubt with the aid of thousands and thousands of years of evolution in small, aggressive human social environments with limited number of mating options? There are several highly effective steps to mastering your feelings in this regard. I've practiced all of them, and I strongly suggest you do so if you need to be in full control of your feelings and allow yourself to gain the greatest fulfillment possible with the women you meet and date. Here they are. Cut mental time spent on a woman. Remove all viable reminders of her. Keep no photographs of her around to study. Don't sit down there analyzing texts and emails from her. Don't give her anything special or unique, like a unique ringtone to your cell phone. If you catch her walking through your mind, flip your mental attention towards something else, an undertaking that's of the utmost significance to you, or a different female you met somewhere who isn't pretty or incredible. Spending excessive time considering a lady will increase her importance in your head is something I term intellectual investment, that the more someone thinks about someone else, the more they mentally connect themselves to that character. Avoid mentally making an investment in girls you haven't slept with, and be cautious about it once you've been intimate with them, to avoid falling into the lure of obsessing over ladies who aren't yours. Get options. Whether they're ex-girlfriends, current girlfriends of yours, or new women you're meeting, the extra ladies you've got around you that feel like options, whether you exercise the options or not, the less you're going to tend to view any one lady as truly awesome, remarkable, first-rate, a rare and hard-to-locate gem that needs to be cherished and handled with kid gloves. When a person has alternatives, he feels more in control and treats women more like people and less like treasured gadgets. And because of that, he finds way more success with them, too. Get great girlfriends. As in multiple. Having a couple of females is hands down the nicest way to prevent yourself from getting all tangled up over one female. Provided, of course, those women are all pretty similar in cost to you. If you have one woman who is exceptional and two who are substandard, You could surely begin to obsess over the one superb girl more than you would if you were seeing her alone, incorrectly reasoning that she is the rarest flower due to the fact all of the other ladies don't measure up to her. You can thank evolution for that, too. As a primitive example, in a small band of people, if a guy began seeing 3 girls, if one stood out better than the others he was seeing, he'd come to worry about her, correctly reasoning, in that circumstance, that she had become more valuable than the other 2 ladies, and he ought not to chance losing her. In today's global world, however, with an abundance of beautiful, superb girls, this is now not the case. But your emotions haven't caught up with evolutionary progress yet. Get girls of constantly high quality, and you'll beat this tendency back. Step 1. Recognize. The first step is to realize your emotion, which could appear ambiguous. For example, suppose you became irritated at another driver who suddenly cuts you off. While you are shouting your favorite expletives, you need to recognize the emotion that is anger, or at least realize you are feeling a strong emotion. Step 3. Accept obligation. The third step is to simply accept obligation for that emotion. That might be one of the toughest steps to employ due to the fact that you can deflect blame saying, "The guy cut in front of me. It's his fault." But it's you who has selected to feel that specific emotion. Anger. You are permitting others to manipulate you. They may be taking your power away from you and, in reality, controlling you. What you are actually stating when you are blaming the other individual is that they have got the power to make you feel a certain way. Take responsibility for all your feelings and be liable for your feelings. When you do that, your emotions will begin to change due to the fact that you are taking responsibility for them. Step 4. Find other alternatives. The fourth step to emotional mastery is to find other means to resolve your issues. For example, when you inform your baby to do something, perhaps 3 or 4 instances, and they don't do it, you would possibly get indignant and start shouting at them while experiencing anger. Before, I'd arise and start shouting at them to listen to me, feeling annoyed, and many other feelings. However, after I ask myself why I'm feeling irritated, wondering if it was anger or another emotion. When I looked at it deep down, I felt disrespected. And that became the emotion, not the anger that was coming out to the front. The feeling of being disrespected is manifested as anger. You may discover any other emotion that's clearly developing whilst you sense the emotion of anger. It could be any other emotion deep down. Once you perceive it, you may look at it and then you rename it so later on you can use it appropriately. Step 5. Accepting your feelings. Step 5 to emotional mastery is accepting your feelings. Whatever you sense in life, it's by no means wrong. But if you sense a specific emotion, it may be incorrect to take action on the particular emotion, even though the feelings themselves are useful. The emotion is a message from your mind to your body or spirit, telling you to pay attention to something. So, from that, you find that feelings are never wrong, but the corresponding action could be wrong. If you're feeling indignant about something that's a message, simply say, "Pay attention, I need to study this," and you can then discover why you feel indignant. Step 6. Does the emotion train you? The 6th step is checking with yourself to see if emotion trains you for something. Now again, an example can be if you have been taking a walk down an empty street and you experience a sense of apprehension or uneasiness and you begin to feel nervous. You must ask, Is the emotion telling you to feel apprehensive, or is it coaching you to be more aware of your environment, or is the emotion telling you to say, I'm fine? I'm in a nice, safe place with nearby shops, CCTV cameras, and even a police car across the street. It's telling you to be more aware of each special moment in time. So look at what your emotions can be teaching you. It is probably another message to tell you something about yourself and your immediate sphere. Number 7. Change your emotion. The 7th and last step is to change your emotion when you have an emotion that is in your way. For instance, you're going into the final exams and you have become truly annoyed and apprehensive, and this is preventing you from concentrating on the test, which perpetuates your anxiety, despite the fact that you have diligently studied the last 4 or 5 weeks. To change your emotion, you're going to use a special state of mind. The idea is that you need to recollect an event from the past, such as taking a final which you passed with flying colors. Remember the way you felt when you came out of that exam? Happy, self-confident, and so forth. So the plan is to get right into a unique state by means of channeling a tremendous comparable experience. Think back again to that former test experience and remember how you got yourself into the proper state of mind. Before you even entered the classroom door, you altered your thought process away from emotional tension and towards a feeling of calmness. As a result of that past experience, you can now look at that calmness to aid you in future endeavors. Emotions can either power you or derail you. Many people struggle to have control over their feelings. However, it's far more important to understand that we do not need to be at the mercy of our emotions. A current article evaluates the eBook, How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain, by renowned psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett. In the eBook, Barrett makes a compelling case. Barrett claims that emotions do not manifest without our permission. Instead, Barrett claims that we assemble our emotions by means of sensations and by making predictions based on the past reviews and our collection of principles. Therefore, we're architects of our experiences, and we have the potential to now not be at the mercy of our emotions. We can discover ways to grasp them. Whether you are in recuperation from addiction or mental illness, learning to grasp your feelings is an exceedingly crucial device. The fight to numb emotions can often result in detrimental behavior like dependency and self-harm. Chapter 6. Barrett makes suggestions to help. Here are 5 that stood out to me. Maintain a wholesome physical state. We have heard it a million times that it is vital to eat healthy, exercise often, and get enough sleep. Science proves these factors are important to a healthy emotional life as well. Barrett writes that the easy way to master your emotions is to move your body. An easy walk in nature can reduce rumination and decrease neural activity in the thoughts, improving intellectual well-being. Moving your body can change your predictions and consequently your happiness, writes Barrett. Cultivating emotional intelligence. The term emotional intelligence means different things to different people. However, Barrett refers to emotional intelligence as getting your mind to assemble the most beneficial example of the maximum useful emotional concept in a given state of affairs. Most human beings pile all emotions under one umbrella term. For example, feeling tremendous versus feeling crappy. However, it is essential to research various feelings. Feeling awful is available in exclusive flavors: bitter, engaged, irritated, anxious. Equally, feeling excellent may be defined as feeling ecstatic, excited, grateful, or peaceful. Learning the different emotions lets your mind categorize your sensations and emotions more specifically, which aids in identifying your emotions more accurately. Experience more and learn more. Be a collector of experiences, says Barrett. New stories are essential to breaking up the monotony of existence. Try taking a trip, look at films, acquire new views, tasting new foods, and studying more books. By stimulating your mind, it influences your future predictions and behavior. You can learn new concepts and improve yourself, which permits you to address difficult times. Furthermore, attempting new things potentially grows your empathy and improves your negotiation skills. Keep track of high-quality stories. Hold on to your positive experiences by writing them down and train your brain by reviewing them. On the other hand, dwelling on poor events makes it easier for your brain to recreate the bad events in the future. Everything you collect goes into a fund, so make investments wisely, writes Barrett. Cultivate the stories you want to revisit again in the future. Cultivate awe. The feeling of awe is something we often enjoy in formative years. As youngsters, we experience this feeling for the first time. As we grow up, this emotion dwindles as our day-to-day lives become mundane. Experiencing awe increases curiosity, interconnectedness, and a desire to discover. Nature is an exquisite way to experience awe. From freshly fallen snow to a mountaintop to observing wildlife, awe conjures up the experience of vastness. This feeling helps us get outside ourselves. We are continuously handling intense feelings, although we strive to keep away from them or deny them. Sometimes we experience elation and joy, and other times we can become paralyzed or even feel manipulated. Feelings are signals about moving toward or away from experiences, matters, or people, and all of us get those signals more or less continuously. We are a feeling-making machine. Babies exhibit this flawlessly. They cry if they're hurt or pissed off. They yell or pound if they are mad. They shiver or shake when they may be scared. They spit things out when they're disgusted, and they giggle and smile brightly when satisfied. As we age, we have a greater capacity to think about our emotions and determine whether to express them or to read their message. Many people discover ways to close down feelings to keep away from negative responses from others. We often sacrifice emotional authenticity for public approval or to no longer make waves. Unfortunately, suppressing emotion is like placing a seal on a water valve. It creates stress and erosion. Emotions are supposed to go with the flow, and when they don't, they create distress both emotionally and bodily. To become a feeling and wondering human being, we want to discover what we feel, name what we sense, take complete responsibility for what we sense, and find wholesome places for our emotions, specifically the less positive ones like grief, anger, fear, and shame. In order to do that, we need to take time to be aware what we sense and the way we sense it. If we do not have healthy stores for emotions, we can likely see ourselves engaged in the following behaviors: screaming at others, hitting others, self-harm, swallowing or suppressing emotions with food, pills, alcohol, any other man or woman, display screen time, and or intercourse, getting others to feel sorry for you, getting others to trash on other people, engaging in bullying or mean behavior, getting interest from others through noticeably charged emotional drama, isolating, denying that we have feelings in any respect, keeping too busy to sense, lying to avoid feeling, not getting out of bed, giving up on doing something positive. People who do no longer process their feelings in a mature and conscientious way are in all likelihood taking out their feelings on others or on themselves. I even have watched people go from character to individual, substance to substance, all in attempts to run away from and avoid their emotional ache. The tragedy is that pain multiplies with each try to escape it instead of dealing with the actual feeling and underlying cause. The only direct method to solving emotional pain is to experience it, name it, and deal with it within the moment. What you could do. Practice identifying your emotional state: unhappy, mad, pissed off, afraid, pleased, irritated, and employing methods to assist the emotions in working their way through you. Have your feelings ever gotten away from you, causing you to react in a manner into which you wish you hadn't? Emotions are messengers and an asset to how we characterize ourselves. Youngblood tells us that the answer to utilizing our emotions successfully is to apprehend them. Emotions bring strength and information. If we strive to suppress them, they will bottom out in a detrimental way afterward. Learn helpful hints on how to correctly cope with the onset of a severe emotional reaction. Conclusion. Major studies and reports have illustrated that people who have higher emotional intelligence tend to have greater job success, good health, and healthy relationships with others, stable personal lives, and an extremely enthusiastic mindset. Most of their success, 67%, is attributed to high emotional intelligence. Many top firms have started evaluating the emotional intelligence of their employees before employing them. A person with higher emotional intelligence handles pressure well on the job. Being surrounded by loads of work with a time constraint, a person with higher EI excels over a person with a higher IQ, and that is why firms are stressing the EI of their employees. EI has become a topic of discussion in the mainstream because of its various advantages, whereas it has also remained a topic of arguments and criticism because of its several disadvantages. Therefore, profitability needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.